Imagine a company with roughly 100 employees generating $500 million in revenue, no traditional advertising, no investors writing checks, no splashy product launch events, just a Discord server, a subscription plan, and an idea so powerful that millions of people handed over their credit cards just to see what it could do. That is the story of Midjourney, a company that did not just build an AI tool, it rewired the way the world thinks about creativity, art, and who gets to make something beautiful. The man who built $1 billion dream without a dime of marketing. Before Midjourney existed, there was a man with a knack for being right too early. David Holes grew up in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and showed an unusual obsession with computers from childhood. He studied mathematics and physics at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, later abandoning a PhD program to pursue something bigger. Before the age of 30, he had already contracted for NASA's Langley Research Center and conducted neuroscience research at the Max Planck Institute in Germany. He was not the kind of person who thought small. In 2010, Holes co-founded Leap Motion, a company that wanted to replace keyboards and mice with pure hand gesture tracking. The technology was genuinely revolutionary. It attracted over $94 million in venture capital and had Apple knocking on the door twice. Holes said no to Apple both times. He believed the technology deserved to live beyond a single corporate ecosystem. He was not wrong about the vision. He was just wrong about the timing. The market was not ready. Leap Motion never found its product market fit and eventually sold to a British company called Ultra Haptics in 2019 for just $30 million. A brutal return on over $90 million raised. Most founders would have taken a break. Holes took notes instead. He walked away from Leap Motion having learned the single most expensive lesson in entrepreneurship: venture capital funding creates a treadmill, not a runway. The pressure to grow for investors rather than for users had poisoned the well. So when he started building his next company in 2021, he made a decision that looked reckless from the outside. He would take no outside money. None. He would build it with a team of 10 engineers using computing power he locked down through his network, and he would fund everything through the product itself. That product became Midjourney. The premise was almost childishly simple: type a description of an image in plain language, and a powerful AI model would generate it within seconds. The first open beta launched in July 2022, not on a polished website or app store, but inside Discord, a platform built for gamers. Holes chose Discord deliberately. It made the experience social, communal, and viral. Users could watch each other's images appear in real time. Strangers were creating art side by side in shared channels, and they could not stop showing their friends. Within 1 month of launch, Midjourney had reached 1 million users and was already profitable. The company had spent exactly $0 on marketing to get there. By the end of 2022, revenue had climbed to $50 million. 1 year later, that number hit $200 million, still with no advertising budget and fewer than 50 full-time employees. By 2024, it reached $300 million. By 2025, $500 million. The growth was not driven by press releases or celebrity endorsements. It was driven by people posting their Midjourney images on Twitter, Instagram, and Reddit, and making the rest of the world ask, "How did you make that?" The answer always led back to the same Discord server. Midjourney's valuation climbed to an estimated $10.5 billion, making it one of the most capital-efficient companies in Silicon Valley history. Revenue per employee exceeded $5 million annually, a figure that most Fortune 500 companies cannot dream of. The tool that rewired digital art. When Midjourney hit the public, it did not just create a new tool. It collapsed barriers that had stood for generations. Before AI image generation, producing professional, quality visuals required either years of technical training or thousands of dollars paid to illustrators, photographers, and designers. Midjourney changed the math overnight. Advertisers began using it to prototype campaigns in hours rather than weeks. Game designers started visualizing entire worlds in an afternoon. Independent authors self-publishing fantasy novels suddenly had access to cover art that looked like it came from a major studio. The AI completed between 20 and 40 image generation jobs every second, running across more than 10,000 servers simultaneously. The scale was staggering. The cultural moment that put Midjourney on the map for millions of people came in August 2022. A Colorado-based artist named Jason Allen submitted a piece called Te Trad Spatial to the Colorado State Fair's digital art competition. It won first place. When it was revealed that the image had been created using Midjourney, the art world erupted. Some called it a landmark achievement in human-AI collaboration. Others called it a violation of everything art competitions stood for. The controversy made international news and introduced Midjourney to an entirely new audience overnight. Hollywood and the entertainment industry were paying close attention too. Set designers, concept artists for major film studios, and marketing teams at global brands began quietly incorporating Midjourney into their workflows. The tool was not replacing creative professionals. It was becoming the new sketch pad, the first draft, the mood board. Concept work that once took a week to commission and receive could now be generated in 3 minutes and iterated on the spot. Midjourney continued evolving at a pace that kept competitors off balance. Version 5 introduced photorealistic imagery so convincing that it sparked serious conversations about misinformation. Version 6 sharpened text rendering and prompt accuracy. Version 7, released in April 2025, dramatically improved the rendering of human hands and faces, historically the weakest point of AI image generators, and introduced personalization features that allowed users to train the model on their own stylistic preferences. The company also launched Patchwork in December 2024, a multiplayer world-building tool that allowed up to 100 users to collaboratively build shared visual universes in real time. Midjourney was no longer just an image generator, it was becoming an entire creative ecosystem. By mid-2025, its Discord server had grown to over 21 million members, making it the largest community on the entire Discord platform. The war over whose art it really is, none of this growth came without a fight. Almost from the moment Midjourney went public, artists started asking a question that nobody in Silicon Valley seemed eager to answer. Where exactly did this AI learn to paint? The answer, when it emerged, was uncomfortable. Midjourney's model had been trained on billions of images scraped from the internet. A dataset known as Leon 5B containing approximately 5.85 billion images, vast numbers of which were protected by copyright. In January 2023, a group of visual artists, illustrators Sarah Anderson and Kelly McKernan, along with painter Carla Ortiz, filed a landmark class action lawsuit against Midjourney, Stability AI and DeviantArt. The lawsuit alleged that these companies had built profitable commercial products on top of artists' work without consent, credit, or compensation. The case intensified dramatically in early 2024 when a leaked internal spreadsheet surfaced online. The document, allegedly curated by Midjourney's own team, listed over 4,700 artists whose styles the platform had been specifically trained to replicate. A second tab contained an additional 15,800 proposed names. The list spanned centuries of artistic history, including legends like Norman Rockwell and Andy Warhol, alongside living commercial illustrators who depend on commissions for their income. The artistic community's anger was swift and overwhelming. Artist John Lamb of Riot Games amplified the leak on social media, urging every artist who found their name on the list to join the lawsuit. What made the leak particularly damaging was the alleged internal commentary around it. Screenshots from what appeared to be Midjourney's private Discord server contained a message suggesting that the approach to copyright was to simply use scraped datasets and then, in those exact words, conveniently forget what was used to train the model. Midjourney denied intentional wrongdoing, but the optics were severe. In August 2024, U.S. District Judge William Orrick denied Midjourney's attempt to dismiss the copyright infringement claims, allowing the case to move toward discovery and trial. It was a significant legal moment, one that could set precedent for the entire AI industry. The debate is not settled. It may not be settled for years. At its core, it asks something civilization has never had to ask before: when a machine learns to create by consuming human creativity, who owns what it makes? Artists argue their livelihoods are being dismantled by systems built on their own unpaid labor. Midjourney argues the training process is transformative, not derivative. Courts are still deciding who is right. What is beyond dispute is this: Midjourney took a single man's refusal to repeat his own mistakes, a 10-person team, a borrowed chat platform, and no marketing budget, and built one of the most disruptive creative companies in modern history. Whether the world ultimately celebrates it as a liberation of human imagination or confronts it as the most sophisticated act of artistic appropriation ever conceived, that story is still being written. And for better or worse, the brush being used to write it belongs to an AI,